Hey guys, this is Nika, and you are listening to the Prosta English podcast. I believe you might have clicked on this episode because you love this podcast and you listen to the all new episodes as soon as they are released. Or maybe you are not a regular listener, but you were intrigued by the title and the topic of this episode. In any case, I want to say that I wouldn't have come up with this idea myself. Actually, I received a question about my wedding from one of my loyal and active listeners. His name is Alex. Alex, thanks a million for your unusual and, to be honest, unexpected question. Thanks to you, I got to relive this day and unlock some memories from the birthday of my family. So let's listen to Alex's audio together, and I'll try to tell you everything about my wedding day in as much detail as possible.
Hi, Nika. Hi, everyone. And my second question to you. I guess you know what is this question about? About your wedding. I want to ask you not only about wedding day, wedding ceremony. I'm interested in knowing everything about this event, about gifts, guests, about wedding dance, about wedding cake. Maybe you have a interesting story about ordering wedding cake. I hope your answer wouldn't be too short and you record a new episode of your podcast, just especially like answer for my little question.
I believe that before we start talking about the wedding itself, I should share how I actually got proposed to. So, long story short, Paul and I met in our hometown in Belarus in the summer of 2017. After 3 months of dating, Paul moved to the USA for 9 months for work, and I went to study in Denmark. When we finally met again, we didn't know what to do and where to live because at that moment we had completely different paths of life. Paul then suggested that we go to China to work and live for a while. I agreed because I love getting out of my comfort zone and exploring new places. And in the end, we spent a year in China. I shared more about our Chinese experience in the 51st episode of the podcast called Chinese Habits That Shock Foreigners. You can go back and listen to it later if you haven't done it yet. But why am I mentioning China? The answer is very simple because Paul proposed to me in China. I know that many girls expect a proposal and wait for it, but I had no idea. Absolutely no idea. At that moment, we had been dating for 1.5 years, 9 of which were long distance. And it doesn't sound much, right? 1.5 years. I believe that not many girls, or at least only a few, would expect a proposal at that point. So neither did I. But at the same time, Paul and I have a lifelong story. His brother Stefan was not only my classmate for 11 years, but before that, we had also been together in kindergarten. So basically, our families have known each other for more than 25 years. But you might say, Nika, you've just mentioned that you met Paul in 2017, and now you're saying that you've known him since childhood. So basically, I didn't know Paul. I mean, I knew he existed. I knew he was Stefan's brother, but he was 5 years older than me. And in childhood, that was a huge gap. So we had never communicated before 2017, before I grew up. And the point is that when we started dating, even though we didn't really know each other personally, it felt like we had known each other forever. I didn't need to tell him anything about my school or teachers because he already knew that. I didn't need to introduce him to my childhood hobbies because he was already aware of them. And I didn't even need to show him where my parents lived or introduce him to my parents because they already knew him. In addition to that, our families are very similar. Our parents are entrepreneurs, they travel a lot, they share common values, traditions, mindset, and so on. So that's why both Paul and I, maybe even after the second date, felt like we had found a soulmate. We felt comfortable and at ease with each other. We understood each other without words, and somehow we both immediately knew that we would get married. It might sound weird, but it felt like destiny from the very beginning. I believe that's why Paul didn't want to delay the proposal, while for me, it was still a huge surprise. So let's get back to the day of the proposal, 25th of December 2019. It was Catholic Christmas, and we agreed not to give each other presents and just spend a fun day together. We were roaming around the city, taking pictures together, and in the evening, Paul suggested going to the top of a TV tower. It's the tallest building in Chengdu, the city where we were living, and it offers a panoramic view of the entire city. So, at one moment, I'm standing there, looking down, feeling terrified, and I see that Paul gives his phone to some Chinese guy and he starts recording us. Then Paul pulls out a box and I see that on the box, there is a picture of a whisk. I look at him completely confused, and he says something like, "You remember a few days ago we argued that you don't cook, so I decided to buy you this present to inspire you to cook more." I mean, you should have seen my face. I looked lost, angry, speechless, and at the same time, I wanted to laugh because I still didn't understand why he asked this Chinese guy to record him giving me this, well, weird, strange, stupid gift. And then I started opening the box with the wonderful whisk, and I realized that it was actually a prank or a joke because there was another box, a smaller one. And at that moment, when I saw the box, Paul got down on one knee and held out a ring to me. And then I don't remember. That memory has faded from my mind. Maybe because I was so confused or because I got nervous. Because by that time, there were already a million Chinese people standing around us, all cheering and clapping. And I felt so shy that I didn't even really understand what was happening. And of course, I said yes, but only a couple of hours later, I finally realized what had actually happened. We have discussed this moment with Paul many times, and each time we were laughing. It was stressful for both of us and for him especially. He also shared that he had expected a different reaction from me because he had seen girls on the internet crying so badly and squealing. And I simply said, yes, with a poker face and a confused look. But I clearly remember the second day when I woke up in the morning, put on the engagement ring again, and experienced pure happiness and excitement. I felt that our relationship had changed. We were not boyfriend and girlfriend anymore. We were a future family. And the story about our wedding, I'll share in a second. But before that, I would like to remind you guys that on the 27th of April, our English courses start for all levels from A2 to B2. And if you want to start speaking English confidently and fluently, if you finally want to structure basic grammar in your mind and expand your vocabulary with real words and phrases, I invite you to join our friendly and supportive English community. The courses will last for 3 months, and you will have two classes a week, one grammar class and one speaking club. All your homework will be on an interactive platform, and it will include tasks for all aspects of the language: grammar, reading, listening, vocabulary, and writing. Over the last 7 years, I've already helped more than 1,000 students become confident in their English skills. As the result, they have found better jobs, moved abroad, and now when they travel all over the world, they feel safer because they can easily solve any problems if needed. They take part in international conferences, communicate with people from different countries, and in general, feel relaxed because they can use English in any random situation in life. If you also feel that English will open many new opportunities for you, and now you are looking for a good course that will give you real results in just 3 months, congratulations, you have found it. If you enjoy listening to this podcast, you will absolutely enjoy taking part in the course. I promise that you will fall in love with English, integrate it into your life, and finally see results from your studying and feel proud of yourself. More info you will find on the website in the description of this episode. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'm looking forward to meeting you in the course, but now let's get back to the topic. In February 2020, the coronavirus started to spread extremely fast in China. All public places were closed, and we couldn't even go to work. And that's why we decided to escape China and go to Bali for a while. At that moment, we had no idea what kind of virus it was and didn't take it seriously. But after months in Bali, we realized that the situation wasn't getting better. We couldn't go back to China, so we decided to return to Belarus and wait for the end of the epidemic there. In the end, as we all know, China was closed for more than 2 years, and we never managed to come back and eventually relocated to Poland. But that's already another story. So, summer 2020. We are in Belarus, and all our relatives start asking, when are you planning to get married? Will you organize the wedding? And to be honest, we didn't know what to do because even though in Belarus we had no restrictions and all restaurants and cafes were open, and people could officially gather in big groups, we personally took this virus seriously. And that's why we didn't want to organize a proper wedding, not to be responsible for someone's health issues. So we talked with Paul and decided to have a civil ceremony at the registry hall. Just two of us, casually going there in jeans without any guests. And the next summer, have a proper wedding with a lot of guests, nice outfits, traditions, and so on. And then the whole story started. At first, I thought, okay, we will not have a big wedding, but anyway, we will get married and we will become a family officially. So we need to invite a photographer at least to take pictures of us on this day. Then I thought, okay, but if we invite a photographer, we need to look pretty at least. So maybe I should wear a white dress. And then I remembered that all my life, my grandma had told me that she dreamed of seeing me in a white dress. So if I have a dress, I should invite my grandma. But if I invite my grandma, I should invite my parents. And what about Corona then? We didn't want to gather anyone, and now we are gathering people. Oh my God. So we started thinking about how to make it all work. At first, we thought about gathering only the closest relatives near the registry hall and drinking champagne outdoors. I don't know if you remember this, but in my childhood, I saw how people would park a car near the registry hall, open the trunk with some snacks and alcohol, and just stand around it, cheering for newlyweds and kind of celebrating. And I thought that this would be an ideal plan. It's outdoors, it's safe, and it's not really a party, but at least something. When I shared this plan with my mom, she almost started crying. She told me that it was bullshit, that it sounded terrible and cheap. And then she came up with the best idea ever. She said, what if we organize a buffet in our backyard? It will be outdoors, but we don't need to drink champagne from the trunk. This way, we figured out the main concept and the idea of our wedding and started preparing. We had just 1 week to get ready because the ceremony was in 1 week on the 27th of June 2020. First, I went to pick a dress. I didn't go with my mom, like many girls do. I went with my mother in law because my mother in law is the most stylish person in our family, and both my mom and me trusted her taste. And the moment I started trying on different dresses, I realized why it's so important for any girl. Because in a white dress, you really feel special. You feel like a princess, like something magical is about to happen in your life. The second element of the preparation was a photo zone. I delegated this task to my brother and his friend. They took a huge cardboard and cut it out in the shape of an Instagram post. And at the top left corner, we had our surname written, and at the bottom, we added some hashtags like new family, love, forever, and so on. To be honest, it didn't look perfect, but it made it even funnier. The third step of wedding preparation was decorating our backyard. My mom invited her friend, who is a florist, and we took some roses from my grandma's garden and decorated a gazebo with flowers and sheer curtains. It cost us nothing because my mom's friend refused to take money for it, but in my opinion, it was really cute and beautiful. On the wedding day, in this gazebo, we placed a table with some snacks so guests could grab something, take a glass of champagne, and chat in the backyard. In the end, we had about 20 people at our wedding, like parents, grandmothers, uncles, aunts, our brothers, the closest friends of our parents, and my best friend. In the morning, I got my makeup and hair done. It looked exactly the way I had imagined. I felt like myself. I felt comfortable, really stunning, and jaw dropping. At about 2 p.m., Paul and his parents came to our house. He gave me a beautiful bouquet of flowers, and we all went together to the registry hall. I will remind you, it was COVID time, and in general, guests couldn't go inside the building itself. But I don't remember exactly why they allowed all our guests to join the ceremony. Maybe because there were not so many people in general. During the ceremony, I could barely hold my tears because it was a very sensitive and touching moment. Like, all my closest people were around me, and I was getting married to the person I love. After that, we all went to my parents' house, and there I had two surprises. First, a video with wishes from our friends, and second, a video that Paul made about our love story. It was extremely lovely and super cute. And then guests stayed in our backyard while we went for a photo shoot in the city center. At about 8 p.m., together with our parents, brothers, and my grandma, we went to a cottage house near our city. It was a cottage house in Belarusian style with some local decorative elements and traditional food. We stayed there only for dinner. We danced, played the guitar, and sang songs. After midnight, our party was over and we all went home. But Paul's parents made a surprise for us and rented a beautiful apartment overlooking the castle in the city center. So, the first days after our wedding, we stayed there and it was very romantic. Even though our wedding was very small and planned in just a week, I wouldn't change anything about that day. For me, it was perfect because I was surrounded by my closest people, and this day was about us, not mainly about our guests. But to be honest, now I dream of organizing a big and proper wedding for our 10th anniversary. I want to wear a wedding dress again, have many guests, a wedding host, different funny and silly competitions, and in this way celebrate the 10th birthday of our family. But that will be another story and another episode of the podcast. Thank you so much, guys, for staying with me today and for sharing this important and memorable day with me. I believe that now you know me a little bit better. On my Telegram and Instagram, I'll share some pictures from our wedding day so you can take a look at my outfit, some decorations I described, and other elements of our wedding in general. Have a great day, guys, and see you at the courses. Bye bye.